Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Buzz. Trevor here. I'm joined by Thomas as always. And today is the day that we finally talk about Jacques Audiard's Emilia Perez.
Yeah. There's a reason we've been holding off for so long. I think it's fair to say. Or not even holding off, just not
Reluctant.
really wanting to talk about this film. And yeah, we'll get into all of this stuff, but it's fair to say both of us are, like,
Not
seemingly the majority of people across the world,
except for the Academy.
except for the Academy, not fans of this film, really,
Yeah.
at all.
Yep. Impressively was able to piss off like everybody. Like I think it's
Yep.
everybody at this point that this has
Yep.
managed to piss off.
Yep. It's
Which
everybody except
fair
rich
play.
Hollywood people who want to feel like they're
Good
doing
about
something good.
voting.
Yes, when
Yep.
not understanding that the film actually is just, yes, terrible from all angles. So this is not gonna be an extended video essay, I don't think, about all of the like actually really horrific things that Emilia Perez is saying about trans community, about the Mexican community. Because at least for me, I don't feel necessarily authorized to talk about
Right.
those
We
kind of
aren't
things.
we aren't Mexican. We aren't trans, right? That isn't our place to talk about. We'll bring up critiques that other, I think, trans and Mexican people have made.
Have had, yeah.
But we aren't going to add anything new to the conversation on that front. But there is, even removing that element, so much wrong with this film.
Yes, exactly.
So this is a film from Jacques Audiard. It premiered at Cannes. Jacques Audiard, believe it or not, has made some pretty good films before. Not a terrible filmmaker. You wouldn't believe it watching this, but he has.
You also wouldn't believe it based on the comments he's made since as well.
Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
that he's like a competent.
Yeah.
So we're led by Carla Sofia Gascon, who we just made like a 30-minute long video about her and all of that going on there. We also have Zoe Saldana. We also have Selena Gomez, Adriana Paz. And that's really it for the relevant cast. It really does center around, I mean, really the first three, and Adriana Paz is there. So I don't even know where to really start. It's kind of just this chat GPT buzzword blender of trans Mexican cartel, and it tries to put this into this sort of audacious, overly ambitious swing of a musical, which already puts it at this like weird tonal dissonance between the subject matter and how it's approaching it. And it never really recovers from just this conceptual flaw. And from there, it just keeps on digging its grave deeper.
Yeah. No, it's very hard to know where to start with this film, because logically a lot of, if you're reviewing a film, you start with the plot, or you essentially lay out the general beat. With a film like this, the plot is so messy and ill-structured, and actually just without structure, that it is a hard place to talk about. Like, if you're going to do a brief synopsis, I guess you could say a Mexican cartel leader comes to this lawyer who is underappreciated, and then wants to transition. She makes that happen for her, and then they encounter each other years later, and there's an affair and stuff like that, and the cartel is still involved. It gets very messy very quickly. The premise, fine, is loaded slightly with problems, but it's just where the film spirals. And again, it's not even just conceptually, like the music. The film gets worse as you actively go through. I think the songs get even less memorable. The performances start tapering off. The melodrama starts increasing. Everything about watching this film is a negative experience, because, at least me, there was various discourse about the film when I watched it. Eventually there was, Cannes, there was awards buzz, all of this kind of stuff. Even though I'd heard a lot of dissident voices, it had received praise as well. So I went into this not really knowing what I'd think about it, and just a slow unraveling process of going, oh no, this is just getting shit. Oh no, why are we doing this? Where are we going? It's a very unsatisfying film watching experience from that.
It's constantly taking swings.
It's constantly taking swings. The problem is
they aren't
constantly
structured
missing.
around anything, that's the thing. These swings just feel aimless. It feels like Jacques Audiard has taken a baseball bat and then blindfolded himself and turned the lights
Yeah.
off and
And
is
he's
just
ended up
swinging it
hitting
around.
everyone. He's ended up
Right.
hitting everyone else on the field.
He's hitting
Yeah.
things, but he doesn't know what the fuck he's hitting.
No,
Like
he's not hitting them. Yeah.
every single scene in this film feels like it was made by a different filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like you'll jump, and that's not maybe even true, but just from scene to scene, you'll jump from the sequence to the next sequence, and it just feels completely like removed from anything that we've just seen.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think a lot of that is probably the fact that Jacques Audiard has been very open and honest about his little knowledge of the stuff he's talking about. It's why research as a thing is important in filmmaking.
yeah,
Jack has not done this, and therefore every scene just feels different. It feels like a part of a different whole because there was never a whole, I don't think, to begin
Yeah.
with. It feels improvised. It feels on the fly. It feels like, oh, and now what happens? Oh, and now what happens? Oh, and now, and then suddenly where you started from is just completely different from the melodramatic ending.
Right.
of the
You've
film
ended
that
up on a
tries to
completely different planet. Like,
tug at your heartstrings, and it's like now Zoe Saldana's not even the main character anymore, and it's like the main character switches throughout, like from the film. There is no focus point.
and
which I
again,
think
that
is the
isn't
key
something
issue.
that would be bad if there was an interesting or compelling structure behind it. But the
It
fact
feels
that
reason to do
there's
so.
no foundation. There's no foundation. So then when you try and take all these swings on top of no foundation, you have nothing to back it up. Yeah, I mean we've talked about the music.
I
Like
mean,
as a musical, it's just not great. The
I
penis
don't
to vagina
remember the key
song,
songs.
the
Yeah,
penis to
I
vagina
mean,
song is very memorable and funny,
other than that
and
one,
I
yes.
have listened to it outside of the context of the film because it makes me laugh.
And I'll be honest, a lot of people do share that. I personally just thought it was cringy. I had no fun watching that scene. I
It's
just thought,
camp.
oh my, yeah.
I think if
It,
the entire film was if the entire film was that scene, it would have at least been fun.
maybe, yeah, because that's the thing as well with
Not
a film that
good,
is
not
taking,
good,
yeah,
but
yeah, but more enjoyable to watch. Because with a film like this that is taking so many swings, logic would have it that it would be at least an interesting film to watch. It would be one of those films that doesn't quite work, but like a sort of glorious train wreck. This is not that at all. It's quite boring, actually.
it's really
It's
dull.
really
I
quite
struggled
dull.
to get into it in any way. And I also think part of that is just that the visual language is so flat. Like, guys,
For a
musicals should be
musical.
bright, poppy, fun, like colorful, vibrant. I mean, Wicked almost gets there, but even Wicked was stolen. I think that this is just this epidemic of grayness. It's Hollywood's allergy, like allergy to color, and their really just refusal to make anything colorful. Like with a film like this, like it should be exploding with vibrant colors and just going
The
fucking
most
crazy with
memorable
it.
song in the film is set in a sterile white hospital. Like,
Yes,
I think that sort of encapsulates a key issue with this film. That is the
and
most
again,
memorable song.
eh, and again, if you want to make it this like serious kind of brooding musical, then go for that. But then you have, songs like the Penis to Vagina song that are just pure camp and points where it almost feels like it's satirizing its own concept. So
Yeah.
it is again trapped within this weird tonal dissonance where it really doesn't understand what it wants to be. So it tries to operate at all ends of like the formal spectrum at once, and it just comes across as nothing because I again sometimes you have films that are I feel like they're completely all over the place, as you said, uh and on all ends of the spectrum, and end up just being like this weird explosion of film where it's you don't know what you just watched, but it's kind of fun. But with this, it just feels like all of those different points on either end just canceled each other out,
Mm.
and it was just nothing,
Yeah.
which is I think an infinitely more frustrating film than if it was just explosive and dumb and didn't make sense. But like
Mm. Yeah.
it's just nothing. Like it's so egregiously bad, and it doesn't even have the courtesy to be like humorously bad.
Yeah. And it's because I think at the core with a film like this, whereas a lot of films are frustratingly bad in the idea that you feel like there was something good here, it just couldn't quite get out. Here, I think at a fundamental ground level, people behind it had no idea what they were doing. This was throwing stuff to the wall, and none of it was sticking. And
Yeah,
therefore, when there is not even that foundation, when there's not even like a character you can get invested in, a plot beat that like hits home, even a musical number that is memorable in a way that is not beyond just like cringe or so weird that it becomes memorable. Like something that
right.
actually just one musical number that works and you feel like you feel the emotion from the scene. I never once felt any emotion towards anything going on. And when the film is this melodramatic in its presentation, that is a big issue because that means that exactly what the film is trying to do, the one thing it is trying to do, which is tug at your heartstrings, not create a good plot, not create cohesive characters, no, just tug at your heartstrings. When it fails to even do that, you're in for a very bad film, which I think is what we have here.
Yes. No. I 100% agree. I mean, what else is there to say? Just to touch on the misguidedness, shall we say? I mean, there's so much. There's them not casting any like Mexican actors for the lead roles, and the casting director Audiard saying that they didn't find any Mexicans talented enough. Saying that he already knew enough about Mexican culture, so he didn't feel the need to research anymore. There's the Carlos Sofia Gascon of it all, which again we just made a long ass video about. You can look at that. There is just the heavy reliance on stereotypes and of Mexican culture to portray it. The dismissal of like this very real crisis going on in Mexico and almost playing it up and again turning it into this like melodramatic note that just it comes since it is so poorly executed, it just comes across as insensitive. And again, I think that this is often when films become insensitive. It's not that you can't handle like I know I feel the same way about this with like comedy in a lot of ways. It's not that you can't touch on any like subject matter that is, you know, very, very dark, controversial, etc. Right? I think that, you know, you can make a film, you can make a joke about anything. It's just you have to make it good. Like you can deal with the most controversial, you know, the most like I like fragile subject matter that you have to handle with great care. As long as you make it good, then it's not going to be an issue. And the problem is that this is just simply bad. With I mean, I know I did not hit nearly everything, but just to move along with the trans experience, it is yet another film depicting transness as purely physical and purely in gender experience purely as something that is in relation to like, you know, others really in others' perception of physicality, which is certainly part of it. But to boil transness purely down to that and to boil a character purely down to the perception of their transness is just very, very tired and shallow in one note. And once again, just feels very kind of out of touch and insensitive given the rest of the subject matter. And again, we aren't going to be able to add anything new to the conversation. Go read reviews from trans critics and Mexican critics, because they're going to have a lot more insightful things to say than we will. But I just wanted to bring those up because those are also certainly part of the problem with this film and part of the discussion.
Sure. I'd like to just shout out Counselor Geeks and Jesse Gender as two extended video essays that have helped me at least understand the trans perception of this film better. So just shout out some if you were worried or curious as to where to go to find trans opinions on this film.
Absolutely. Thank you. But yeah, I just think in the end, again, even divorced from all of the, you know, contextual issues with the film, it is just poorly crafted.
It's just a poorly made film.
The camera has no motivation. The cut has no tempo or rhythm.
The performances are
not
fairly
great.
underwhelming. No,
Selena
exactly.
Gomez is unbelievably terrible, like genuinely
Yeah,
shockingly
which
bad.
I have heard that Jacques Audiard doesn't speak Spanish, and so I think Selena Gomez is probably I've seen her do better. I think it's maybe the Spanish dialogue that has caused, because she wasn't directed properly at
Yeah.
all. But that is just, so I wouldn't pin it, as I have seen some people do, pin it exclusively on Selena Gomez and write her off as an actress entirely.
Yeah.
That's, I
It's
think, not
definitely
the case.
partially her fault, and
It
also,
probably is, but
you know,
I think there was a lack of direction there. And yeah, all the performances, I mean, they're so unnoteworthy. Zoe Saldana is fine. Carlos Villa-Gascon divorcing all the comments, it is fine in the role.
right. Both of them are just fine. Like, there's nothing
There's
notable
nothing,
there. There's
yeah. And
there's just
when,
nothing tangible to this film.
no,
It
and
genuinely feels like it doesn't exist.
it is probably, that issue is probably emphasized by the fact it has been so widely in the awards conversation since its release. Netflix picked it up immediately outside of Cannes, and immediately it was Netflix's number one contender. And therefore, we've always been talking about it and viewing the film through this awards lens. And when it is so nothingy, when there is really nothing to appreciate, nothing to highlight, in a sort of best of the year retrospective kind of way, it emphasizes the elements that were already flawed and turns them into fundamental issues with the film, I found. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for
that's
sure.
Emilia Perez for you.
That's Emilia Perez, just a film completely lacking in any singular vision and just kind of fracturing and crumbling under that into so many things that are all equally as bad as each other.
Yeah.
So I am feeling 2 out of 10.
2. I was going to go with 2 as well. Yeah. Yeah. Just I
Is
think
this
I would save 1 for, like, I don't know, evil pieces of work.
yeah.
Whereas I think this was just
I think this
really
has stumbled
bad
into
and
being evil. I don't think that
misguided.
Jacques Audiard intended this to be evil. I just think that he's
No,
fucking stupid.
I just think
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
I don't. I think this is an ignorantly evil
Yeah.
film, not an intentionally evil film.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like a Matt Walsh documentary or something.
No.
It gets pretty damn close at times, but it was not with ill intent. I don't.
But yeah. 2 out of 10,
Just
I
made
think,
with
is right for this film.
yeah. So, anyways, those are our thoughts on Emilia Perez. There will be more reviews and discussions coming up soon. But until next time, thank you for watching. Stay safe.